Welcome back, everybody, to the Angels franchise rebuild here on MLB The Show 24. And today we're going to kickstart our first offseason with Los Angeles. We're coming off a season finishing just below 500 at 79-83, a 48-49% win percentage. The Astros had the 1 seed in the American League, but it was the Baltimore Orioles who ended up winning the World Series over the Dodgers 4-0 in a 4-game sweep. We had some really promising players this year, but one guy that I have talked about a lot because of his monster campaign was Edward Julien, who improved in pretty much every area. He had a monster year compared to his rookie season, and I think he's primed to be probably our top player moving forward. But we have other young players that we can really build around, like 24-year-old Logan O'Hoppe. So he and Julien could really be that star duo that we are looking for here. Both guys led us in home runs. We acquired Joe Ryan in that same trade with Julien, and he was fantastic as well. So looking to keep him around, and he is under contract going forward. We got Chase Silseth here, who is coming off a really strong campaign after his first 2 years were, pretty up and down. This year, I thought he really found his stride with 14 quality starts and 32 total starts. And then you've got right fielder Mickey Moniak, who really brought his average up, but he did lose a lot of lefty contact, and his potential is going down. Now, I did not give him a contract extension, so we're going to think about if he's worth keeping around. I think he is. He's 25 years old. I think he's a really solid defender, and I think he's also a really good righty batter, so we can find a guy that can hit against lefties that can play in right field. They probably have a really solid outfield. And that may include Aaron Hicks, who is coming off a really strong bounce back year. The last 4 years, he has pulled his average up each and every season. Had his best slugging season since 2018 when he was a Yankee. So he really stepped up, but he is 34 years old. The overall is going down. A lot of his ratings are going down. So he's not under contract. He's going to be a free agent, so might want to look elsewhere for him despite his solid season. Can't forget about Zach Neto, though, who really improved in all areas except for lefty contact. He's up to a 77 overall going into what would be his 3rd season with the Angels. And despite the average being relatively low, I think he's still a vital part of the team, especially defensively. He did win a Gold Glove award this year, which is his first award ever. You can't forget about Nolan Shawano, who coming off this most recent season now has a full year of service under his belt. He got the contract extension, as did much of our young players a few episodes ago. His defense needs work despite only having 3 errors this past year. But overall, I think that he is going to be a staple of this team for years to come. Pitching-wise, though, Joe Ryan, Silseth, and Griffin Canning were the only real good pitchers as starters last year. The relievers that were solid for us were Matt Moore and Andrew Wantz, but pretty much everybody else really struggled. So we're going to have to really kind of revamp this bullpen. And that will officially take us into the offseason. Here we go. And we're going to have to replace our manager, as Ron Washington has retired after, 1 season as the Angels manager? Okay. And because of the injury that he suffered this season, Willie Calhoun has now retired. He was pretty old, but he retires. He was playing very well in the little time he got, but the injury ends his season and his career, I guess, too. These were the other retirements. And there are no 2024 Hall of Famers this season. So with Washington's retirement, the manager's spot is officially open, but I might also make some moves here across the rest of our staff, especially with the pitching coach. I mean, this guy has no positive attributes. Why was he even brought in? This guy's fired. Goodbye, Maverick Usis. You got Gael Rojas. Gonna fire him as well. Might just want to revamp most of this. Arm strength at first base, not really a concern. Neither is arm accuracy. That's fine. But third base, negative fielding, that's not going to cut it. And would you look at that? Dave Roberts, the longtime Dodgers manager, is available. I'm going to offer him a contract, no doubt. 6 championship appearances, 9 playoff appearances. Yeah, let's offer this guy a deal. In terms of exclusive free agents, you got Esteves here, but I think I'm going to move on from him. He's coming off a year where he was just horrible, man. I mean, he was the closer to start the season, but after a couple of games, his ERA skyrocketed, and he just never brought it back down. I had to put him down to AAA for the rest of the season because he was playing so horribly. There is Matt Moore, who's 35, and his ratings are all going down, so I'm going to move on from him as well. Miguel Sano did not give me the power that I was looking for because of the low contact, so he's going to be let go. I'm probably going to let most of these guys walk on this list. In fact, I am going to let all of them walk. I don't think there's anybody here that is really worth bringing back, especially because half these guys are super old. And as our first official move, we have hired Dave Roberts as our manager. Welcome back to Los Angeles. We also bring in Miguel de Villar as our pitching coach. Greg Dell joins the coaching staff as our hitting coach. We still have the third base coach spot open. I made an offer to, where is he? Carlos Febles. There's other offers right now. I'm going to increase the offer a little bit, but we're also at the beginning of free agency. We got to focus on that as well before we can move forward here. We do have several players eligible for arbitration, but a lot of these guys probably aren't going to be coming back, like Sandoval, Mickey Moniak, maybe, but I might just not go into arbitration at all for him because I might want to see what else is out there. But he could be a good option. I'm still weighing that for us. There is Andrew Wantz, who was very good for us. He's only 29 years old. I think he deserves to come back, and he is a renewable contract, so I might just do this right now or as soon as I can. Griffin Canning, probably going to give him an offer. He ends up having a 4.52 ERA, but was still a vital part of this rotation, so going to give him one more shot. He's only 28. Rengifo, though, I think I'm going to let him walk. He lost a lot of lefty power and contact and had a pretty big dip in average, on base percentage, and slugging. Really across the board, had a dip in all those batting categories. Jamie Hergetz did not end up playing too well after he was called up. Zach Plesac, Matt Tice. I think I'll just let most of these guys walk. We have a lot of budget available because of the Mike Trout trade and trading Rendon. That freed up a lot of our budget. So we have $141 million to work with here. I do, however, want to trade Tyler Anderson, who's 35 years old, ratings going down, and he's coming off a year where he had a really high ERA for the second straight season in Los Angeles. And I think I would just move on from him. I would rather just move on from him. So we're going to try and make a trade and free up even more room. And we're going to send him to the Blue Jays for center fielder Emmanuel Bonilla, who has beat potential and is a low overall, but could be a promising player for us moving forward in the farm system. I can't see his numbers this past season, but the ratings are all going up across the board, so that is a really good sign going forward. For contract tenders, we're going to give one to Andrew Wantz, and he has been renewed for one more season for $160,000. Got Jose Soriano on this list, but I think, is he worth bringing back? He could be. I think he was solid for us, but some of those ratings are going down, but not by a whole lot. He's got some going up. I think I would rather renew his contract and see what he can do with one more year for us. And his has been renewed. And these are your top free agents. You got Corbin Burns at the top, Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, Shane Bieber. 3 of these top 4 guys have qualifying offers. So if you do want to sign one of those guys, then you do lose a draft pick. Now, I think they're the only guys that even have qualifying offers. So Yeah. A lot of options for us here, and we have a lot of money, so we could go after some of these players. I might not go after guys that have qualifying offers because I don't want to lose a draft pick this early in the series. I think it's important for us to build through the draft and build this minor league system of as much as possible, so I don't want to lose any early pick. But Pete Alonso is there. Can he play anywhere else besides first base? No, we can't. So if we do make this move and go after Pete at 30 years old, we would have to move Shonowell to left or right fields. He's coming off a year where he batted .245 but hit 34 home runs. So he's definitely one option. You got Paul Goldschmidt, but he's super old. I'm not going to sign him. You got Willie Adames, Alex Bregman. So there are a lot of players here that could really find a home. And you might want to start off going for some pitchers because that was the weakest part of our roster this past year. Clay Holmes is coming off a year where he had a 2.5 ERA, 1.21 whip, 8 blown saves, 2 holds, and 43 total saves, which is nearly going to double his career high prior to that. So, impressive season for him. And he's 32 years old, but not going down anytime soon. Plenty of really good stats here. I'm going to make an offer for Clay Holmes for sure. And he would be our closer, no doubts. He does not consider us as a contender, though. And you know what? That's okay. Might offer a little bit more. We have the money to offer more. And that does not put us above the Yankees. There's also Jose Leclerc, who is 31 years old. And he was even better. He had 38 saves, only 4 blown. A lower ERA and whip than pretty much the last 5 years for him. So I think he's another solid option to go after. He's got a 4-year offer from the Rangers. We're going to make a 5-year deal or 5-year offer, and that is going to soar above them. I'll keep the one for Clay Holmes up there because they could be both useful if we get both, but I doubt we do. There's also Tanner Scott, Jordan Montgomery, who is coming off a really solid bounce-back season in Washington. 17 quality starts, 2.6 WAR. He could be an option for our starting rotation. Why not try and bring this guy in? The Nats are the only other team offering him. Now, he wants a 5-year deal. We offer 2 years, then he wants a lot more on the ideal salary. So he wants a big deal. At 32 years old, I don't know if I want to do a 5-year deal. That seems a bit too much. But then you got Max Fried. He's coming off a really solid year. 17 wins with the Braves. 20 quality starts, 3.4 WAR. Had a lower K rate than or really the lowest K rate pretty much in his entire career thus far. And one of the highest home run per nines in his career. But I think he's a solid pitcher, and he would be one of our top guys on the team, so why not throw an offer his way? He also wants a 5-year deal, but I would rather go for somewhere like a 3-year deal with a salary around 17.3 perhaps. 23 holds here for Jeff Hoffman. Only 27 innings pitched. Must have gotten hurt at some point this season, but he's coming off a really strong campaign. Had 0 WAR. But with these numbers, I think he would be a really strong addition to our bullpen. There's no real bad rating here, except for the fielding, but that does not really matter that much for a pitcher. He's got relatively high everything, especially hit per 9 and pitching clutch, which for us is huge because that means that's going to replaces one of their ratings. I forget which rating it does replace, but when there's runners in scoring position, pitching clutch replaces, I think, possibly hit per 9 maybe. That could be it. So those both being high is a good sign. And the bullpen was obviously a weak part of this team, so why not throw an offer his way? A 3-year deal. I think he would like that. And now for some arbitration moves. I'm going to start off with Mickey Moniak here. I do want to bring him back and play him against righties. And we are going to make an offer for him not to go to arbitration. We're going to see if he wants... He does want a short-term deal, actually, which is perfect. I'm down for like a 2-year deal. He's 26 years old, so still a lot of years left to put under his belt. And he wants less money than I'm even offering him. So we offer like 2.2 a season. He might accept this as a platoon player. And the only other guy on this list that I am even considering offering is going to be Griffin Canning. And if we make an offer to him, he would want a short-term deal as well. In fact, let's do a 1-year deal. That's what he actually kind of prefers. A 1-year deal for 3.6. Why not? I'm going to go after some more relievers here. And Matt Strahm has some really solid ratings. Very similar to Jeff Hoffman. He's got high hit per 9, really high pitching clutch. Some of the highest that I've ever seen. Coming off a really solid overall season, 1.2 WAR as a reliever. Really high K rates, a low home run per 9. This guy is what I'm looking for to bring into our bullpen. So let's make an offer here. He wants 4 years at 33 years old. That is not going to happen. If we offer like a 2-year deal at 5.6, this would intrigue him. So we have made offers to 1 righty and 1 lefty reliever. There's also Jonathan Lawasiga. I think I'm pronouncing that right. He's got really high walk per 9. The K per 9 is not very high, but doesn't have to be. Solid control, really good velocity, obviously, with a 98 fastball and a 95 sinker. And he had 30 holes this past year for the Yankees in 49 appearances. 5 saves, 4 of them blown, but he's not a closer. And, I mean, yeah, these numbers are really, really solid. So, let's go after him as well. We'll offer him like a 3-year contract around here. It is a struggle to find a pitcher that has higher than like 25 stamina. Unless you go for a guy like Yanni Chirinos. But he really struggled this past season in Miami. The only other guy that has above like 26 stamina is up here somewhere with like 40 or so. And that is Matt Strahm, who we already offered. So if we bring in Strahm, he would be probably our main long relief pitcher. And the other guys would pretty much be middle relief or setup. Now the Phillies are offering him a contract, but we have the highest interest level. I'm going to make one more offer to a reliever, and it's going to be Blake Treinen here, who is 36 years old, but has some really nice pitches with really quick sinker and fastball, a 92 cutter, and he's coming off a really solid season in LA with the Dodgers, so let's see if we can bring him in too. And maybe one more lefty. I am a fan of Andrew Chafe, and I am a Tigers fan after all, and he is coming off one of the best years of his entire career with a whip just over 1, a ERA just over 2, 12 holds in 40 games. Ratings are going down, but I think he's still solid, and he throws lefties, so we need a guy like this in our bullpen alongside Strahm if we can get him too. And I would rather go for like a 1-year deal with Chafin. We could also really use a southpaw starter, and John Means is a guy that I'm a big fan of. He's got an offer right now from the Orioles where he's been playing for quite some time, but if we can nab him from them, that would be really nice. Go for like a 3-year contract, about $9 million per year. And it would be part of the rotation, so let's offer it. These are all the offers we have made. A couple teams have jumped us in the negotiations, like for Jeff Hoffman, for example. But we do have the top offer from most of these guys, so let's see if we can bring some of these guys in. And we have officially signed a few new arms, people, including Max Fried, Jonathan Lawasiga, and I think that is it, at least right now. Now it's time to go after some bats, though, especially in the outfield, because we traded Taylor Ward and Mike Trout, and Mickey Moniak is still waiting to be re-signed. So you got plenty of options here with Teoscar Hernandez, Martinez, Alex Verdugo, but then it kind of drops off very quickly, at least in left field. Center fielder is only a top couple of options. Right field, there's obviously Juan Soto, and then Santander, who I think could be a definite option for us. He is 30 years old, 83 overall. He is coming off one of his worst batting years in quite some time, but I think he could bounce back easily, and he's also a really solid defender. Not great or anything, but he's solid. You got Max Kepler, who we faced in that season finale against the Twins, and he batted very well and also has some really good outfield ratings. Tyler O'Neill, former St. Louis Cardinal. He was all right. I think I might offer O'Neill here. He is only 29 years old, and he's coming off a 1.2 WAR season. Played his most games since 2021, and that was the second most by far in his career. Can play in all three outfield positions. I think he's worth signing. Let's make the offer. Down for... I do prefer to go less than 5 years, especially starting out, because I'm not really sure how these guys are going to shake out, and I would rather see what they can do over the course of a 2 or 3 year contract before giving them a bigger deal afterwards. So for O'Neill, a 3-year offer. I know he's 35, but we could really use a lefty batter as well, and Jason Hayward is coming off a really strong season. He's slugged .445, hit 14 home runs, 52 RBIs. Was probably at the back of the order for the Dodgers, obviously, with their heck of a roster, so he could be a definite option. And it's probably one of the only ones. There are only a handful of lefties here, including Kevin Kiermaier, who is better against lefties than righties, but can still get contact hits off both of them. Also got, decent plate vision and discipline, but also he's a really good fielder, and we could really use that. So he played in Toronto this past season. I might offer him. He's 34 years old. Let's go after him first, and then Hayward can be the backup option. I know his ratings are going down, but Aaron Hicks could really be the option for us as well, because he's a switch hitter. He's coming off his best batting season in his entire career. Again, ratings are going down, but if he can play even to his level 2 years ago, in 2023, I would still be happy with that. So I'm considering bringing him back because there really aren't too many options, and I still want to find another batter that can hit well off of lefties and can at least be a decent hitter off of righties, because against lefties, we lack a lot of power. So that is the thing that I'm trying to fix here, but so many of these guys are in their mid-30s. So I think I'm going to actually bring back Aaron Hicks, funny enough. We have re-signed Aaron Hicks to a 4-year deal, and we bring in Blake Treinen to our bullpen as well on a 2-year contract. And finally, Carlos Febles takes the offer as our third base coach, so now we have a full coaching staff. And this is what it looks like. You got pretty much A's and B's across the board. Gonna keep our farm director as is, but a lot of new faces here, including manager Dave Roberts. Tim Anderson follows suit by signing a 2-year, $5 million deal to be a depth shortstop for us behind Zach Neto. And we did end up signing Matt Strahm to a 2-year deal, so that is probably our biggest signing so far, besides Mac Fried. So now looking at the roster and the bullpen, Matt Strahm, Blake Treinen, Jonathan Lawasiga, Andrew Wantz, and Jose Soriano. So we got 5 arms, 3 of them new. We aren't done yet, though. Andrew Chafin has now signed 2 days later, and Mickey Moniak re-signs on a 2-year contract, so he is back as well. Our next pickup would be Brian Anderson, who signs a 2-year deal, and he can play third base, but also can play in the outfield. He has a huge arm as well, so he's going to be a solid defender for us if he ever gets playing time, but I do plan to play Julian at third base just like this year. CJ Cron also joins the roster as a platoon player behind first base. And Jose Leclerc is officially an Angel. The 31-year-old pitcher signs a 3-year deal. Welcome to Los Angeles. I am excited about this. This should really bring a big boost to this pitching staff. Meanwhile, Juan Soto joins the Toronto Blue Jays on a 6-year, $117 million deal. And those are your two biggest signings of the last day of free agency. But we also sign starting pitcher John Means to a very similar deal as to Jose Leclerc. And we also brought in a backup catcher, Travis d'Arnaud, to play behind Logan O'Hoppe. The Rule 5 draft is approaching, so now it's time for us to secure the 40-man roster before this draft to make sure that we don't lose Ben Joyce or Caden Denno, who are two guys I do want to add to our roster because they got that high potential. They're already a 65 overall, so let's go add those guys to it if we can. Got a couple guys on waivers here to make room for them. Ben Joyce, let's add him to the 40-man roster. And then we can wait on Barrett Kent this year, but we do need to add Caden Dana to the 40-man. It is the last day of arbitration, and we're going to let Sandoval, Rengifo, Herget, Plesac, and a bunch of other players go, including Jose Suarez. Griffin Canning has not taken his offer yet, and I do plan on him being on the roster, so I do want to offer him arbitration instead if he's not going to take that one. I'll offer 2.7 mil, or it's like 3 million. It's kind of between what our current offer is and what he was previously making. And Canning would eventually accept that 1-year deal that we offered him, so he is back again. The Pirates sign Willy Adames to a 5-year, $68 million deal at 29 years old. So that's where he goes. That's the big signing there. And now we're in winter meetings, so we still have offers out there for Kevin Kiermaier and Tyler O'Neill. And the Rule 5 draft is coming up here soon. Meanwhile, the Red Sox bring in Teoscar Hernandez. And then there's Willy Adames again. Here we go. We got the draft lottery today. We have the 12th best odds at the number 1 pick. Going to go to either the A's, Nats, or White Sox, most likely. And we end up with the 13th overall pick. Spots 6 through 14 got screwed. The Nats got so screwed. They go down to pick number 6 after the highest odds. The A's get the first overall pick. The Diamondbacks go from 0.8% from pick 14 all the way up to pick 4. Wow, they're so lucky. Today we have the Rule 5 draft, and we have 30 players rather on the 40-man roster. And I don't know if I really want to draft anybody here, but I guess we'll see who is available. Tanner Scott is now a Cub. That's good to know. Shane Bieber is heading to San Francisco. So that's probably a big upgrade out of Cleveland. And now for the draft. Let's go see what happens. First pick is the A's. And 5 players taken before us. Now we are on the clock. Do we take a player here? These are all really low overall players. I don't think I want any of these guys on the roster because they would have to be on the Major League roster as well. They would have to be in the majors the entire year. And if they aren't, then they get sent back to their original ball club. So I think I will pass this year on these guys. There's just nobody that's going to be Major League worthy for us, I don't think. The Brewers want to offer us a trade, huh? Let's take a look. They want to offer us Zach Neto straight up for Aaron Ashby, who's a B potential, 80 or so overall pitcher. 3 years of service. He's been okay, but definitely not good. And I like Neto. He's got high potential. He was a Gold Glove winner last year. I'm declining. The Padres secure the services of Paul Sewald, the closer. The Cardinals get Jose Quintana. We saw Tanner Scott signing, and we also saw Shane Bieber as well. Now we end up signing Tyler O'Neill to a 3-year contract. We've got one more offer out there for Kevin Kiermaier. That's our last one. And we got him on a 2-year deal. Let's go. We got most of our targeted players. That's awesome. The Diamondbacks end up signing Max Kepler, and that's going to be one of the last big moves. Corbin Burns is still waiting for more offers. And he eventually signs with the Cardinals on a 9-year deal at 30 years old. That is huge. $20 million per season. Wow. And the Royals scoop up JD Martinez, but that's pretty much it for the biggest signings here in this offseason. Well, one last one. Patrick Sandoval is now a Padre, so we let him go, did not extend an arbitration offer, and he heads to San Diego. I just spent so much time revamping the farm system and signing a bunch of new players. That always takes forever. But I'm finally done. We got 86 players in the organization right now, which leaves a couple of spots open in case we want to sign any extra players later on. But we still got plenty of spots on the 40-man roster as well. We got 35 players out of 40 before spring training. But the biggest moves that we made was to sign Max Fried, potentially our new ace, but Joe Ryan was an all-star last year. I think he has earned that spot for now. But Max Fried is a huge get for the starting rotation, and he will play alongside Joe Ryan, Detmers, John Means, Silseth, and Griffin Canning. In terms of relievers, we brought in a bunch of new faces like Matt Strahm, Blake Treinen, Jonathan Lauasiga, and Andrew Chafin. We kept around Andrew Wantz and Jose Soriano, but some new arms here in this bullpen, and we could still sign one or two more. I think we probably should. We got these 6 plus our new closer, Jose Leclerc. So I think if we sign one more reliever, that could help, but also one of our starters is probably going to be a reliever, so that does fill out one more slot there. That's probably going to end up being whoever performs the worst, which is going to be most likely between Reed Detmers and Griffin Canning, so one of those guys is going to draw the short end of the stick there. But that was not all the moves that we made. We signed Travis Darnell to improve our catcher depth because last year it was horrible with Matt Tice. We signed CJ Cron as our depth first baseman behind Nolan Shawnuel. We keep around Edward Julian and Jury, of course, because both guys are great. We're going to have Julian play at third base. We're going to have Brian Anderson back him up. At shortstop, we're going to have Anderson back up young shortstop Zach Neto. Aaron Hicks returns in left fields. We got Kevin Kiermaier in center. And we're going to have Tyler O'Neill and Mickey Moniak in rights, but might want to sign one more center fielder, but we're also full on the Major League active roster. So right now we got 4 outfielders and some depth for the infielders especially. But that is your big signings. That's your active roster as of right now. But there are a lot of other players to look forward to later on down the line, like Walker Jenkins. You've also got Geraldo Franco, who's going to start in AAA, while Odell Herrera is going to start in AA at third base. So I did move up all of the draft picks to double in AAA. I think Franco is the only player that we drafted that will start in AAA. Everybody else will start in AA. So with 5 spots on the 40-man roster, we do got to think about players that aren't on it yet. Should Walker Jenkins get an invite to spring training? He has no options used yet. I think this could be the first year that we see what he's got because the ratings all go up. He's got very similar ratings right now as to Franco's coming out of the draft, except Franco is actually better right now overall. Could Franco potentially be on the roster at a 75 overall? I think it's better for him only amongst all of our draft picks to do it now than later on because of that deep potential. So I am going to add Geraldo Franco to the 40-man roster. He will appear in spring training. And it's a big decision for Walker Jenkins, but you've got 3 options to use, which essentially means 3 years unless you do it twice in 1 year. I think I'm going to add him to the 40-man as well and see what he's got. So that leaves 3 more spots available. Is Odell Herrera also somebody that could be put on there this early? He has a 73 overall coming out of the draft. He has really solid contact, good righty power, good plate vision, great durability. The defense needs work for sure. But if we needed an extra guy to come in, that he could be that if somebody gets hurt. You know, again, it's dangerous to do it this early. But with the overall being that high, I think that he has that kind of potential, kind of like Nolan Schanuel did. So I am going to add him to our 40-man roster right now. But I'm going to keep all the pitchers off of it, and we've got 2 more spots left. At 27 years old, Michael Darrell Hicks. He's got some solid ratings, nothing that's going to blow your mind. There's also Chase Chaney, very similar ratings across the board. I think I'll do it for Darrell Hicks because he's 27 years old. So we'll add him to the 40-man. And as the last spots, I'm probably going to re-add Robert Stevenson to our 40-man. He's 32 years old. He was on it last year and did clear waivers. So let's put him back on there. I did that because I wanted to free up some spots for the signings. But I think if Cisneros not on the 40-man roster, I guess Maderos could be an option, but he's 23 years old. I would rather just wait and let him develop a little bit further. I think our best option is Robert Stevenson right now to close it out. So he's the last guy to make the 40-man roster. The offseason has come to an end. Spring training is about to begin. So we are here at the start of 2025. We got a whole month of spring training coming up. I think I'm going to sim entirely through spring training next episode. And the reason why is because, to me, going through the first 3 to 4 years quicker than later seasons means that you can get to those later seasons faster, which also means that the guys that you drafted in those first couple of years are going to start to make a name for themselves and start to grow and start to maybe even appear on the active roster in the major leagues. So I think that I would rather focus on those years instead of these early ones. So I'm going to probably spend, 6 to 7 episodes per year until years 4 or 5 maybe. And then after that, we'll slow down and start to go really in depth on each season. But with a lot of pitching prospects that we last drafted, we had 2 players that play at third base and the outfield, but those guys are nearly ready. But the pitchers have a long way to go. And I would rather focus on the guys that we drafted versus guys that were already on the team or guys that we sign in as free agents, just because the draft is a huge part of the series. And that means that the players that we draft are also a big part of the series too. So I do want to focus on that. But if you guys want to see any spring training, let me know in the comments down below. But I did want to focus this offseason on bringing in a completely new bullpen. And I think that I have succeeded in at least revamping it. It's hard to know if we did a good job until we actually, see what happens during the course of the season. But I think we have a lot of veterans here, like Matt Strahm, Shrine, Andrew Wantz, who was really solid last year. He brought in Jose Leclerc. He brought in some solid depth across the entire team. And now this means that we're going to have a lot of opportunities for the young players, like Logan O'Hoppe, Nolan Schanuel, Edward Julian, Odell Herrera potentially, Zach Neto, Marco Luciano potentially, who's already on the 40-man roster, and other guys that could potentially have a real shot at upping their potential, upping their overall to a really high level, and really securing a spot on this team for years to come. But with 40 guys in spring training here on the roster, 14 will have to be going down back to the minors. So those will be some tough decisions, but I'm excited for it because we have a lot to look forward to, I think, with this fairly young roster. We have a strong balance of veterans and young players, which is usually a good recipe for success. So that'll do it here for the offseason, folks. Let me know your thoughts down below on the signings, on all the moves that we made, and let me know your expectations going into year 2. I'll catch you guys there. Please like, subscribe, again, comment down below, and I will see you guys in the starts of year number 2. Peace out.